My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Rob's Two Cents, baby. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's good. Hope everybody's having a great and productive week so far. As you can tell, I'm not at home right now. Kind of a perk of working while I work. They got your boy a room. We got our one of a kind show happening this weekend. As you guys know, I'm the lead client support guy. I'm the guy. So of course, I get a room, do the travel. Just much easier for me to walk 10 minutes as opposed to commute all the way from the south side. That's neither here nor there. You didn't come for that. You came for the hottest sports conversation in the nation. You came for Rob's 2 cents. So I hope you kick your feet up, relax, and enjoy the sports commentary. Right now, we have a lot going on in the world of the NBA. A couple teams have been eliminated. I got to start off with the game that we saw yesterday. We got to start off by talking about the Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics. And I don't believe this game happened yesterday, actually over the weekend, but the Brooklyn Nets have been exposed, ladies and gentlemen. As I've mentioned before, that isolation basketball does not work in the NBA playoffs. Not when you're playing a great defensive team like Boston or any team that makes the playoffs. The your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn concept, it doesn't work. And as we can see with the Brooklyn Nets, that was the style of offense that they were playing with. Kevin Durant gets a turn. Kyrie gets a turn. Kevin Durant gets a turn. Kyrie gets the turn. And as you guys know, as Shaq always points out, it's the others that helps you win championships. It's the Kenny Smiths of the world that'll come in the game and hit 7 threes. It's the Draymond Greens of the world. It's the others that help the superstars win championships. And no others from the Brooklyn Nets stepped up. But as I mentioned before, the Brooklyn Nets have been eliminated. They're in Cancun. They're in the tropics. They're wherever they like to vacation at because they are no longer in the playoffs as they lost to the Boston Celtics 116-112. Boston completing the sweep. The Brooklyn Nets being the only team in the playoffs to be swept. Not even my Chicago Bulls have suffered this fate. The Brooklyn Nets could not get the job done in 4 games, not even pinching the Boston Celtics as it looked like they were able to cruise to a 4-0 sweep. Dare I say we saw a star in Jason Tatum arising. Before I get to the Boston Celtics, I just have to talk about the Brooklyn Nets because as I mentioned, they play a lot of isolation ball. And unfortunately, with the way that the Celtics play defense, even the isolation ball technique didn't work. Kevin Durant throughout the series, he averaged 26 points, but he didn't even shoot 40% from the field. He was 38.6% from the field, 33.3% from the three-point line. I mean, just tenacious defense showed by Jason Tatum and the rest of those boys. Kyrie Irving shooting a little bit better from the field at 44.4% and a little bit better from the three-point line at 38.1%, but he only gave you 21 points. After that, Steph Curry gives you 14. Bruce averaged 14. Goran Dragic averaged 10 points. Nick Claxton averaged 10 points. Where was the help coming from for the Brooklyn Nets? We thought Ben Simmons was going to play. It was rumored before the series even started that Ben Simmons was projecting Game 4 to be his return. Mind you, Ben Simmons hasn't played all year. Ben Simmons did not want to play for the Philadelphia 76ers, as I tell a lot of people. I understand where he was coming from in that aspect. It's one thing for a player to throw you under the bus. But when your coach throws you under the bus, I can understand not wanting to play for that organization, not wanting to give my all for that coach. But you got what you wanted, B. You were traded mid-season to the Brooklyn Nets for James Harden. You got a chance to play with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to be that playmaker that they so desperately needed. Then all of a sudden you have back problems. Now, I'm not one to ever question a person's injury, but you hadn't played basketball all year. Where did this mysterious back injury come from? Now, everybody was ready for you to play. A lot of people suggested that you play in the game that they played against Philadelphia, I believe in March. You didn't want to be there, afraid to see the Philly fans. And then everybody thought you were going to come back at least for game 4. And you wasn't there. Didn't show up. Claimed that you were having back injury problems again, that your back had flared up. Now, it was later reported after the game that the Brooklyn Nets management wanted answers. Why didn't you play, Ben? We're paying you all this money. We picked up your contract from the Philadelphia 76ers. Why didn't you play, Ben? Come to find out that it's his mental health that's affecting his physical health, which we know that can be the case. Stress is bad on your body. But what he's afraid of is being ridiculed on the national stage when you play in a national game. The NBA is nationally televised. You're playing on the playoffs, which is the biggest stage that you could possibly play on besides the NBA Finals. If you can't take the heat, then you got to stay up out the kitchen. And I hate to tell somebody to quit, but Ben Simmons, you got to quit. If this game is not for you, if you can't handle the mental stress of fans yelling at you, if you can't handle the mental stress of players being mad at you, of you not wanting to shoot the ball in the fourth quarter because you're afraid to get fouled and go to the free throw line. Now, Ben Simmons, this will be one thing if this was your only incident. But in LSU, you didn't give it your all. Your team was I don't even know if they made it to the NCAA playoffs, to the March Madness tournament. And if they did, they were eliminated very early. You were waiting to make it to the NBA. Now you get to the NBA. You have a few good years in Philadelphia. You quit on Philadelphia, and then you didn't even get started in Brooklyn. Get it together, Ben. You got to get your mind in the game. You need to go talk to a therapist. You need to go seek out help if that's what you need. But to hold a team hostage, to take their money with you knowing full well that you're not going to play is not right. Where's your testicular fortitude, to quote a phrase from Mankind? Where's your cojones, man? Where's your backbone? You left your team hanging to dry, and if I was the Brooklyn Nets, I wouldn't want you anymore. If I'm Kevin Durant, I'm Kyrie Irving, I don't want to play with you. As for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant has been exposed. I'm not going to sit up here and just beat up Ben. I'm going to beat up on the people that play. Kevin Durant, you had it good with the Golden State Warriors. Winning championships, creating dynasties. Hell, you would be the favorites to win this year had you not left. Who leaves a championship team to go play for the unknown? Because you're all in your feelings because you realize that the Golden State Warriors will always be Steph Curry's team. And they will never look at you as equal to Steph. Oh, it's fine. But you don't leave a championship team to go to the unknown, and this is why. You get swept in the first round of the playoffs. You haven't done anything significant since you left the Warriors, haven't even sniffed the conference championship. Right now, while the Golden State Warriors look like they're on the verge of going to the second round, if they beat Denver tonight, you didn't even get one game against Boston. And Kyrie Irving has the nerve to go on the post-game interview and say he didn't want to be a distraction, that you believe that you not wanting to take the vaccine to be there for your team was one of the reasons that you guys wasn't able to develop team chemistry. You damn right, Kyrie. Where was your love for the team while you were holding the team hostage because you didn't want to take a shot. I understand that you don't want to put everything in your body. But people have been taking vaccines since I can remember. Remember when you were young, you used to have a flu shot just to get back to school. You had to have your TB shots. Now all of a sudden, when money is on the line, you want to be a voice for the voiceless. Which is not the first and only time that you've taken a sabbatical. You've taken a sabbatical because you didn't like the police brutality. You've taken a sabbatical because you just didn't want to show up to work. This is just ridiculous. And all of this is a result of you guys not playing the right way. Steve Nash not coaching the right way, not making adjustments, relying on isolation offense. Steve Nash, maybe you should have been an assistant coach first to better understand what it really means to be a head coach in the NBA. Because everything got exposed with this Brooklyn Nets team. We found out that Kevin Durant is not the leader that he thought he was. We found out that Kyrie is not as good as he thought he was. And Steve Nash, we found out that you are not even a good head coach, let alone great. But let's talk about what Boston did right. Let's talk about Marcus Smart, your reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations to him. Shout out to Marcus Smart for winning that award for the tenacious defense he played on Kyrie Irving. Let's talk about Jason Tatum, who was turned into a superstar right before our very eyes. Not only guarding Kevin Durant, holding him to 26.3 points a game, holding him to 38.6% from the field, holding him to 33.3% from the three-point line, but also scoring on the other end. Because Jason Tatum was putting the ball in the bucket. He was giving you 29.5 points a game. He shot 45.6% from the field. He shot 41.9% from the three-point line. You know how hard that is to stop one of the most prolific scorers in the NBA on the defensive side and still come out and lead your team in scoring? Let's talk about Jaylen Brown, who I have to apologize to the Boston Celtics. I was one of those doubters that thought that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum could not play together. And they proved me wrong. They were able to get the job done when it counted the most. The Boston Celtics, and let's talk about Al Horford, who has been sipping on the fountain of youth, turning back the hands of time, and played his heart out as the center of this team. And the others showed up for the Boston Celtics. The Daniel Theises of the world, the Peyton Pritchards of the world, the Grant Williams of the world. He even got Robert Williams back in this series, who was one of their main defensive anchors throughout the second half of the regular season. The Boston Celtics played the right way, and shout out to Coach Udoka, you know, that prodigy of Greg Popovich, who just knows how to play the game the right way. Sitting there, not only playing with the Spurs, but being an assistant coach for the Spurs and learning the ins and outs of how to play team ball and how to not let egos run his team. And we saw the clip of Kevin Durant talking his sense to Coach Udoka back in Team USA won the gold medal, saying that, you know, we're ready for the Boston Celtics. You know, Patty Mills scored 40 that game. KD being the leading scorer for Team USA, Patty Mills playing for Team Australia, knew that they were getting Patty to the Brooklyn Nets. Joking with Coach Udoka, talking about, we ready for the Boston Celtics. Apparently you weren't. Apparently the Boston Celtics were ready for you. And they wanted payback for what happened last year. Because remember, Jaylen Brown got injured. He didn't play in that series. But at least Jason Tatum, by himself, was able to get one game against the Brooklyn Nets. Too bad the Brooklyn Nets was not able to get one game against the Boston Celtics. As I mentioned, losing 112 to 116. Tried to make a little bit of a fourth quarter comeback, especially Jason Tatum gets fouled out, but to no avail. The Boston Celtics were able to hold on, play the right way. KD tried everything he could. he scored 39 points after only shooting 11 shots in Game 3, which was a problem to me. Because if your basketball future is on the line, I'm going to need my superstar to shoot more than 11 shots. That was completely unacceptable. Now, he came out and shot 31 shots in Game 4, but you was 13 of 31, 3 of 11 from the three-point line. You could not buy a bucket, KD. Kyrie Irving, the same way. He was 6 of 13. He was 2 or 3 from the three-point line and gave you 20 points. But you do not want a Kyrie Irving with your basketball future on the line, only taking 13 shots. He took the same amount of shots that Steph Curry took. But Steph Curry gave you 23. That's not good for business, Brooklyn. Boston Celtics moving on to face the winner of the Chicago Bulls-Milwaukee series, which we can kind of all guess who's going to win that series, especially with some key injuries happening with the Chicago Bulls, but we'll talk about that more as the show progresses. I have to talk about another team that was eliminated. The Atlanta Hawks lose the series to the Miami Heat 4-1. And the sad part is Jimmy Butler nor Kyle Lowry played in Game 5. You know who led the Miami Heat in Game 5? It was Victor Oladipo, a guy who hasn't really played basketball for the last couple of years, who got reinstated back in Game 4, who knew that Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry was out for Game 5 and said, don't you forget, I used to be an all-star in this league. Don't you forget, I used to be one of those guys in this league. And Victor Oladipo came out and had probably one of the best games of his career just due to the fact it happened at the right time. 8 of 16 from the field, 3 of 6 from the three-point line, 23 points, 3 assists, 3 steals, only 2 turnovers. Victor Oladipo playing like a person that wants his season to continue. We know the usual suspect in Bam. Bam gave you 20 points. Tyler Hero gives you 16 off the bench. I mean, the Miami Heat has been winning by committee. And the Atlanta Hawks they really stood no chance against this Miami Heat defense. I mean, exposed Trae Young. They exposed Trae Young. I don't care what anybody says. Trae Young only averaged 15.4 points in this series. He shot 31.9% from the field and 18.4% from the three-point line. You would take that as a sign that I need to stop shooting threes. Not only did he give you 30 assists, but he gave you 30 turnovers. He led the regular season in turnovers. Even though he's eliminated, he's leading the playoffs in turnovers. I bet you Atlanta is regretting real hard that they traded Luka Doncic for Trae Young. Imagine if Luka was there in Atlanta. Now, I love Trae Young. I'm not saying that he's not a great player. He's an all-star in this league. I believe he's going to be, third NBA all-third team? But let's just be real. He's only 5'11". It's not much he can do. You got to go hit the weight room. You can't teach height, but you can get some strength. But taking logo threes, taking at least 2 or 3 logo threes out of every game is not going to cut it. You cannot rely on that three-point ball. You're going to have to find a way to get some dribble penetration to keep the defense on their heels. That was one of the things Iverson was good at. Say what you want about Allen Iverson's height, but Allen Iverson went in there in the land of the Giants. He got the job done. And right now, Trae Young has to go back and look at some film. He's going to have to look at some tape. He's going to have to reevaluate how he wants to play his game, because the way he's playing it now, it's looking like it was just a fluke last season against the Philadelphia 76ers and beating them in the second round and going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, you beat a bad New York team. You beat a Philadelphia 76ers team that obviously wasn't together. You know, Ben Simmons only shot, 4 shots in the total 4 quarters of that series. Joel Embiid, a person who's always dealing with injury or illness, was not himself in that series. The Atlanta Hawks were able to take advantage of it. Those shots that they were taking actually were knocking down. But the Miami Heat is a different beast. They actually play defense. They're tenacious defensively. And I think, to give some credit to Ben Simmons, he exposed the way that you need to play Trae Young. I'm telling you guys, man, the Miami Heat is not a team to overlook. I talked about this on ASAP in the morning, I believe yesterday. That's not a team that you want to just overlook and think that you're just going to beat up on this team. I think the Miami Heat is going to make everything very, very competitive. And I'm actually excited to see them go against a Milwaukee or go against a Boston to see what their skills look like, in that matchup. It's going to be an exciting third round of the playoffs because I think the Miami Heat can beat either Philadelphia or Toronto. Right now, Philadelphia has some problems that they're going through that we're going to be talking about in a second. And Toronto, I just don't think has enough to beat the Miami Heat. So it's going to be interesting to see this in the second round. As we continue to move on, we have to talk about the Phoenix Suns, who was able to get a big win yesterday against the New Orleans Pelicans, as they desperately needed that win. Final score being 112-97. As we know, the New Orleans Pelicans were able to tie up that series. They lost Devin Booker in game 2. It was looking a little weary for the Phoenix Suns as Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCullough, started to come out of their shells and try to take advantage of the situation. Chris Paul did not have a good game 4. As we saw, he only gave you 4 points in that game. But however, the Phoenix Suns were able to bounce back and win game 5 behind a great game from Chris Paul and an even greater game from Mikal Bridges, who was also one of the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year, who gave you his career high in blocks in the playoffs with 4 blocks, also giving you 31 points, just doing everything that they can in their power to keep these New Orleans Pelicans at bay. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, the New Orleans Pelicans right now, they've been playing some excellent basketball. I like that kid, Jose Alvarado, his tenacious defense. He kind of reminds me of a light-skinned Patrick Beverly. He's out there, ball hawking, doing everything he can to disrupt Chris Paul, picking him up from 94 feet, getting those 8-second calls called against Chris Paul, just being an irritant on the defensive side of the ball. As I mentioned, Brandon Ingram, who's been having a pretty great series against the Phoenix Suns. C.J. McCullough, to me, has not been shooting well, but he's been that playmaker that the New Orleans Pelicans needed. And right now, this team has been playing well. But if you look at what the Phoenix Suns were able to do yesterday, Chris Paul, realizing that 4 points is not going to cut it, comes back, he gives you 22 points, he gives you 11 assists, he gives you 6 rebounds, gives you a steal, on the defensive, actually 3 steals on on the defensive end of the ball, doing everything in his power to win that game. As I mentioned, Mikal Bridges, 31 points, 12 of 17 from the field, 4 from the 3-point line, willing that ball into the rim, giving you 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks, just doing everything. Jay Crowder finally saw 1 3-pointer go in. He was 4-8 from the field, 1 of 5 from the 3-point line. They're definitely going to need him to shoot better if they plan on advancing into the second round. And DeAndre Ayton giving you 19 points and 9 big rebounds. He's going to have to step it up, especially, completing the big 2 of being the big part of the big 3 as the number 2 and the main big guy on his team right now, with Devin Booker on the sideline with that hamstring injury. Now, the Phoenix Suns has a chance to eliminate the New Orleans Pelicans tomorrow and get some added rest for Devin Booker to come back for the second round because we, as I mentioned in my last show, those hamstring injuries are tricky. That's a very tricky situation because those hamstrings can tighten up and give out on you at any time. So they want to give him as much treatment as possible, let him get as much rest as possible. But right now, the Phoenix Suns have taken the driver's seat in this series up 3-2 and have a chance to eliminate the New Orleans Pelicans tomorrow. And I know that one of the big questions on everybody's mind is, where is Zion? We see Zion doing these pregame dunks. We see Zion out there, throwing the ball between his legs, doing dribble swim moves, in the lane, against the coaches. And, if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, if I'm a CJ McCullough, if I'm a Brandon Ingram on this team, I'm asking, where is Zion? Why is he not playing? Why is he out here showing that he can give us at least 15 to 20 good minutes and he's not on the court to help us to defeat the number one seed in the Western Conference? Somebody need to be questioning the New Orleans Pelicans organization because I feel like if Zion is going to be doing all that, he can get his ass out there and play. I see no reason of trying to hold him back. I actually want to encourage him to play with B.I., to play with CJ, to see the potential of what we could have for the future. Because if I'm Zion, I'm not so quick to leave now. I want to see what this team can possibly do, going forward. So, definitely going to be keeping our eyes on the New Orleans Pelicans. They should have a little bit more cap room to bring in a little bit more talent to go along with that big three that I just named, and CJ, B.I., and Zion. And right now, as I mentioned, I'm questioning why Zion isn't on the court. I think Phoenix is going to close them out next game, and New Orleans definitely put up a great fight and show some toughness and tenacity that most teams have not shown in the playoffs thus far. Which brings me to the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Memphis Grizzlies. What is it about the Minnesota team? What is it about them? They're just, what's up, my boy Jay Bizzle? What is it about the Minnesota Timberwolves where it's like they throw away games? What is it about the Minnesota Timberwolves where they just can't catch a break? They just don't know how to win. And I'm tired of giving them the excuse that this is a young team. Karl Anthony Towns has been in the league for a few years now. D'Angelo Russell has been in the league for a few years. They have some veteran leadership on that team, like in Patrick Beverley. What is it about this team that they just can't get the job done? Because they were literally beating Memphis the whole game yesterday until the fourth quarter. I don't know what it is about the Minnesota Timberwolves where they just can't get the job done. First of all, I have a huge problem with Karl Anthony Towns. Because with his skill, he should be one of the premier big men in this league. He can score in the post. And that's true, JB. They do lack a pure leader. He can score in the post. He can score the jumper. He can score from the three-point line. He has the athleticism to be one of the better defenders in this league. Yet he chooses to be soft, proving that maybe Jimmy Butler wasn't wrong in what he was talking about when it came to this team. Now, I like Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has shown me something. He's a young guy, big body, knows how to use his frame. If he can get a consistent jumper, he's going to be one of those scary guys in the league. And with D'Angelo Russell, you never know what you're going to get with him. He can come out and give you 25 points and then turn around and do what he did yesterday. Go 4 of 10 and give you just 12 points. The Minnesota Timberwolves really have to get it together. Because in a minute, it's going to become a question of when do we blow this up? When do we break this team up and try to rebuild again? Because with the way that they're playing, I don't know how long they think they're going to keep Anthony Edwards. And if we look on the other side of the ball, Ja really didn't play that well. Ja didn't play well until maybe the last 6 minutes of the game. We look at what Ja Morant did. He was 9 of 22, 1 of 4. And I'm gonna say this again. I don't want to hear anybody prior to go to you, my boy, one of my fellow co-hosts on ASAP in the morning. Don't ever compare John Morant to Derrick Rose. See, a lot of people were saying Derrick Rose, that John Morant was better than Derrick Rose. And did you guys forget that Derrick Rose was a former MVP in this league? Did you guys forget that Miami Heat roster, it took the full power of their capabilities to beat one man in the Chicago Bulls? That he gave Miami everything that they could handle? That he took his team to the Eastern Conference Championship? Don't you ever compare John Morant to Derrick Rose. John ain't done enough in this league to be compared to a Derrick Rose. Now, I love John Morant. He showed up when it counted yesterday. John Morant hitting clutch threes, hitting clutch free throws, and the body bag he caught in the fourth quarter. Oh, Lord Jesus. Did you see a man die yesterday? Because I'm talking about a man die on the basketball court. He caught a body. John Morant showing up when it counted the most for his team. And I love the confidence of this kid. Because he's not lacking confidence. But what John Morant does need to do is he needs to become a better shooter. And I'm not just talking about from the field. I'm talking about from the free throw line. John Morant is averaging 70% from the free throw line this series. He's your point guard. A guard should at least be shooting an 80 percentile when it comes to free throws. Even yesterday, he went 11 of 17 from the free throw line. You might look and say, wow, that's good numbers, Rob. But that totals out to 64.7%. That doesn't cut it as a guard in this league. Especially when you have guards like Jordan Poole, who won the free throw title, who comes off the bench. Now, I do love this Memphis team, but I feel like they've been exposed a little bit, which might not serve them well going into the next series, especially when you're going to be looking to possibly play the Golden State Warriors. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if John Morant makes those costly mistakes that he's made against Memphis, against the Warriors, they will kill him. They will show you how to shoot. They will show you how to play defense. They will show you how to take advantage of defensive mismatches. Because guess what? Patrick Beverley can't do anything on the offensive side, but Steph can. Clay can. Jordan Poole can. And I'm going to tell you something right now. John Morant ain't known for his defense. So the Memphis Grizzlies right now need to do some soul searching. Because you playing against that Warriors team, one mistake can be the difference of you losing by 5 or losing by 20. But I got Memphis right now. I think Memphis is going to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. But ladies and gentlemen, don't be surprised if that goes to a Game 7. You heard it here first on Rob's 2 cents. And then we got to look at the next series. We're looking at Toronto versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this is kind of a funny series to me. Excuse me. Not only due to the fact that James Harden hasn't shown up in this series at all. I mean, if we look at what James Harden is averaging in this series, James Harden is averaging 18.4 points on 37.3% from the field, shooting 37.9% from the three-point line. He's giving you about 3.6 turnovers a game, but he is averaging about 9.2 assists. James Harden, where have you gone? Where have you went? Is it your age? Is it the fact that you don't like to come into the league in NBA shape and ready to go? Are you not the same player that you used to be, or is it just your normal playoff demons getting the best of you? Because James Harden has never really performed well in the playoffs. I don't know if you guys recall. Remember, the Houston Rockets had a very good chance of beating the Golden State Warriors back in yesteryear when they had Chris Paul and James Harden. Chris Paul goes down to Game 6, and James Harden couldn't get the deal done. I think he shot 7 of 42 from the field. It was just a horrible shooting display. James Harden has never historically performed well in the NBA playoffs. And it looks like those playoff demons are coming back to hunt him now. Because if you really look at the Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey has been the second best player on the court behind Joel Embiid for the Philadelphia 76ers. And the 76ers look right now that they're going to be the first team in NBA history to blow a 3-0 lead because Toronto is coming. Keep in mind, Game 6 is going to be played in Toronto. Right now, the series is 3-2. Philadelphia is still up one game. But Game 6 will be played in Toronto. Scotty Barnes is back, your reigning Rookie of the Year. Pascal Siakam now is finally acting like he knows how to play basketball. It's looking like it's going to be trouble for the Philadelphia 76ers, especially when Joel Embiid doesn't give you those dynamic games like he's known for, and when he's not playing at his MVP level. And let's be real. This ain't the first time that Coach Doc Rivers has blown the lead. If we remember back in 2003 when he coached the Orlando Magic, the Magic were up 3-1 against the Detroit Pistons, who was the number one seed at that time. T-Mac came out on national television and said, man, it's going to be good to finally get to the second round of the playoffs. And they blew a 3-1 lead. Now, granted, I'm going to give Doc Rivers the benefit of the doubt. The Orlando Magic was the 8th seed. The Detroit Pistons was the 1st seed. And the Detroit Pistons will go on to win the championship the following year in 2004. Then, let's fast forward to 2015, in which Doc Rivers was coaching the Los Angeles Clippers when Chris Paul and Blake Griffin was there and they formed Lob City. They blew a 3-1 lead against the Houston Rockets, ironically against James Harden. Now, granted, Chris Paul went out with an injury. Or, no, he didn't play in like the first 2 games of that series or something like that. So we can kind of give Doc Rivers the benefit of the doubt. But there is no benefit of the doubt of the 3-1 lead they blew in the bubble against the Denver Nuggets. You go up 3-1 on the Denver Nuggets, and you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George being the leaders for your team, and you blew a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets, a team that the Los Angeles Lakers will beat in the Western Conference Finals as they went on to beat the Miami Heat to win the NBA championship in the bubble. You telling me LeBron got the job done, but Kawhi and Paul George didn't, even though that they tried to make it seem like the LA Clippers was going to be the biggest rival for the Los Angeles Lakers? Doc Rivers is known for blowing big leads. And now he could possibly be the first coach in NBA history in any sport that's being played on the national level, whether it's baseball, whether it's hockey. You're going to be the first coach to blow a 3-0 lead, and it's going to happen to the Toronto Raptors, who, let's be real, is probably one of the teams in the NBA playoffs right now that does not have a real quote-unquote superstar. If that happens, I believe Doc Rivers is going to retire, because he's going to want to retire first before he gets fired. That was a discussion we had on ASAP in the morning. And let me tell you something. You don't want to be known as the coach. It's one thing to be known as the coach that's blown 3-1 leads, but also to be the only coach in sports history to blow a 3-0 lead. Doc Rivers. If I'm you right now, I'm screaming at Joel Embiid and James Harden. Don't you embarrass me. Y'all better get y'all ass up and get the job done. I don't care what happens the second round, but you will not embarrass me right now. I'm going straight Denzel on them. I'm going straight Alonzo from Training Day. You want to do this to me? I'm telling you right now, if I'm Doc Rivers, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't want to be the first coach in NBA history to blow a 3-0 lead. And right now, the Toronto Raptors are looking like they are picking up momentum at the right time. And they looking like, that's not a team that you want to go play at their home court in Game 6 with your legacy on the line. Because if they win Game 6, I'm telling you right now, it ain't looking good for Game 7. It ain't looking good at all. I actually think Raptors pull off the upset. I have no faith in the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm sorry. Then we have to look at the Dallas Mavericks versus the Utah Jazz. There's not really much to say about them. As I mentioned before, the Utah Jazz, they remind me of that bag of chips you used to go to the candy store and get, and you used to want to get the big bag of chips. and you open it up and it's nothing but hot air. That's what the Utah Jazz is. Luka Doncic getting the job done, giving you 33 points and 11 rebounds, just playing at his own pace, controlling the pace of the game. Jalen Brunson gives you 24 points. I just feel like the Dallas Mavericks right now, they're playing at a completely different level, especially getting rid of Porzingis, who I feel was just dead weight for the Dallas Mavericks. They say, you go to Washington. You get the hell out of here. Shout out to Jason Kidd for bringing some defensive intensity to this team. Showing Steve Nash how a former player should head coach a game. Making adjustments and calling the right plays and playing through your superstar instead of just relying on your superstar. What's up, Jay? I appreciate you for being here, my brother. The Dallas Mavericks, they're going to wipe the floor with the Utah Jazz. Utah was lucky that they were able to get, I believe they won 2 games. I don't even have the games pulled up on my screen. That's just how much I don't believe in the Utah Jazz. Now, Donovan Mitchell was grabbing his hamstring at the end of the last game. So now, at the Utah Jazz are without Donovan Mitchell, you might as well cash the check now that the Dallas Mavericks are going to win that game. Also, we got almost done with the NBA playoffs, man. I appreciate you guys for being here with me. We got the Golden State Warriors versus the Denver Nuggets in a possible elimination game after this atrocity of a game goes off with the Bulls versus Milwaukee here on TNT tonight. I think the Golden State Warriors are done playing with Denver. They just wanted to come back home and end things the right way. The Denver Nuggets, they just don't have enough. With the injury to Jamal Murray, with the injury and questionable skills of what Michael Porter Jr. could really give you, I just think the Denver Nuggets don't have enough. Even with the game that they won, it took a miracle. It took for the rookie to hit big shots. What's his name for the Denver Nuggets? Highland, yeah. It took, it took some big shots from him, to get the job done, for this team. And I just don't see, Monte Morris gave you some good minutes. He gave you 24 points. Aaron Gordon gave you 21. Jokic, who's been having a hell of a season, he gave you a hell of a series, I should say. He gave you 37 points. But if you look, his points have been really quiet throughout this series. Even though he's been giving you the points and the rebounds, he's been having to work for everything that he's getting. As Draymond Green has been playing excellent defense for him against him. Now, I will give Boogie Cousins this. Boogie Cousins came in and kind of exposed the Warriors with that lack of size. I think the Nuggets should have probably played through Boogie a little bit more, as he's a little bit more physical than Nikola Jokic, even though Jokic is the reigning MVP and probably going to win MVP of the regular season again once it's announced. I just think Boogie brings that physicality that Jokic can't bring, and he made life tough on the Warriors. I mean, he gave you 10 big points off the bench, giving you 4 rebounds, 2 assists. We know what Boogie used to mean in this league, and he still has a little bit left in the tank. As I mentioned, it took a huge game from the Denver Nuggets just to win the one game they did win against the Warriors. And not to mention, Jordan Poole didn't have his best game from the field, as he was only 11. He only gave you 11 points. He was 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 5 from the 3-point line. It was just too much of Denver that last game. But I just think, once that death lineup gets hot again, as we know that they can, because if you really want to look at it, Steph Curry has been the one in this series who hasn't really shot well from the field. If we really want to look at what the Golden State Warriors have averaged in this series, Steph Curry is the one only shooting 38.9% from the 3-point line. Granted, he is shooting 51.4% from the field and averaging the most points from the Warriors with 27.5 points. It's been Clay and Jordan Poole who's been the topic of the conversation, because Clay is starting to get back in form, giving you about 24 points a game. He's shooting 50% from the field and from the 3-point line, and so is Jordan Poole, who's giving you 24 points as well a game. So I have faith that the Warriors are going to continue to go on their winning streak, or get back to their winning ways, I should say. What's up, Ken? Thank you for being here. And I think that right now the Warriors are your favorites to win the NBA championship. It's just that they're playing defense at the right time. If Steph Curry continues to come off the bench, you want to talk about maybe the greatest six man to ever play the game. I mean, what luxury is that for a team to have a former two-time MVP, one-time unanimous MVP, three-time NBA champion coming off the bench as your six man? It's just unheard of. It's unfathomable to kind of grab the concept of that. Jordan Poole with his elevated play, whether he continues to be in the starting lineup or comes off the bench, I'm just telling you right now, this Warriors team is tough. Draymond looks like he's back in shape, playing tremendous defense. I just don't see other teams being able to exploit the Warriors, at least in the interior, like the Denver Nuggets have. Because even with Phoenix, if you have a healthy Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton hasn't shown me that he's physical enough to just overpower Draymond Green the way a Jokic or the way a DeMarcus Cousins can. Not even with JaVale McGee. He's long, but I don't think they're as strong as those two guys that I just mentioned. So if you're asking me right now, I believe I'm going to be performing a eulogy for two teams tonight. I want to introduce you guys to Reverend Rob Scott. As we come to the congregation today, I want to put to rest the Denver Nuggets, as they will be eliminated tonight to testify. They will be eliminated tonight as they go against the Golden State Warriors. They put up a hell of a fight. Jokic, the former MVP and possibly the reigning MVP, as I think he'll be winning this award again, he did all that he could. It just wasn't good enough. As the Warriors death lineup definitely did what they were supposed to do, and that was kill the Denver Nuggets. Denver, you put up a fight. You fought a good fight. Now it's time to be laid to rest. I bid you adieu, Denver Nuggets. And last but not least, of course, the Bulls versus... you hear me, Ken? I appreciate you for being here, my brother. And also, I want to put to rest the Chicago Bulls. I saved them for last, as this is my home team. I'm always gonna have love for the Chicago Bulls. I think we had a successful season this past season. I mean, if we look through all the injuries that we had, we were the team that was hit the hardest with COVID situations. The Chicago Bulls were still able to not only make the playoffs, but avoid the play-in tournament, finishing the season in sixth place. And also, unlike the Brooklyn Nets, they did not get swept against the former champions in the Milwaukee Bucks. We were at least able to get one game. But tonight, Zach LaVine is in COVID protocols. Alex Caruso dealing with concussion protocols after getting hit in his face in the last game and exiting the game in the second quarter. It just, the writing was on the wall. Milwaukee is going to prove too much. I mean, even the first play of the game, Giannis gets a tip dunk. Just to show you how this game was going to go. I'm sorry, my Chicago Bulls. You will be laid to rest as well with the Denver Nuggets, as you and Brooklyn and Denver and Atlanta are going to be the first four teams eliminated. Chicago Bulls, you fought a good fight. But when you let Bobby Portis come in and do a little shimmy shake on you, when you're letting Grayson Allen come in and score more than your two guards that you put in off the bench, 27-17, when you score more than Dosunmu and scoring more than Zach LaVine and scoring more than Kobe White, the writing is on the wall. You couldn't do anything with Giannis. You couldn't do anything with Brook. You couldn't do anything with Bobby. Vucevic gives you 20 points, but he can't guard anything. I mean, the guy... I'm sorry, Chicago. You fought a good fight, but we'll see you next season. And as I get ready to end my show, I have to talk about the fight that happened this past weekend with Tyson Fury versus Dillian White. Now, nobody expected Dillian White to win. I mean, Dillian White came in, I believe he already had 2 losses on his record. Tyson Fury pretty much undefeated, only having one draw on his record, which was versus Deontay Wilder. We all remember how crazy that fight was. Tyson Fury got the job done in the 6th round as he was able to knock the oh Lord Jesus out of Dillian White in the 6th round with a flush uppercut. I mean, if you pause the video, you even saw a tooth fly out the man's mouth. I mean, he tried to get up. They're calling it a TKO, but let's just be real. He got knocked what we called the F out. And he caught it with a flush uppercut. He tried to make the 10 count. He got up but forgot where he was at and stumbled again. And thankfully, the referee called the fight over because we don't want to see anybody get seriously hurt in the ring. Now, Tyson Fury has came out and said he's officially going to retire. Tyson Fury said he's done what he needed to do in the world of boxing. He has nothing else to prove. He's a reigning WBC and ring heavyweight champion of the world. He has a record of 32 and he weighs 32-0-1, should be really 33-1. I mean, Tyson Fury has done it all except unified the heavyweight titles. Now, his wife believes he's waiting on the big money fight now. We all know what the big money fight is. It's either going to be against Alexander Usyk, who right now in Ukraine, but he's your current WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO heavyweight champion of the world. You know, we're assuming that these two behemoths are going to eventually clash to unify the heavyweight titles, or he could be waiting to fight Anthony Joshua. Now, we know the Anthony Joshua fight is big money. You know, he's also another big brick that knows how to throw those hands. Now, Alexander Usyk is from Ukraine. So we know right now he's dealing with the Ukraine war. He's flew back home to be with his family, to be with his country. And I commend him for that. And of course, we send our thoughts and prayers out there to Ukraine as they're right now in a war with Russia. However, he's still scheduled to fight Anthony Joshua in a rematch. As we remember, Alexander Usyk beat Anthony Joshua back in September of last year to claim the heavyweight championships of the world. So Anthony Joshua is entitled to a rematch. They're supposed to fight in June. So I believe Alexander Usyk is within a month. Is supposed to go to Poland to start training for the rematch against Anthony Joshua. And if that rematch does happen, then I believe Tyson Fury is going to come out of retirement to fight whoever wins that fight, as that fight is going to be a big money fight. As a fight, I actually want to see him versus Anthony Joshua. That's a fight I would love to see, because one thing about Tyson Fury that I love is, regardless of his size and his height and his weight, this dude got some of the quickest hands I've ever seen from a heavyweight, and they're precise and they are accurate. Tyson Fury knows what he's doing in that boxing ring. Ask Deontay Wilder. To this day, I still think Deontay Wilder don't want no problems with Tyson Fury. Now, also, Tyson Fury is supposed to be fighting Francis Ngannou from the UFC, who's the heavyweight champion in UFC, and they're supposed to be having some interpromotional fight. So I'm interested to see how that will be. It's supposed to be actually a hybrid fight, meaning that it won't be just a straight boxing match. It'll be elements of UFC involved as well. So it'll be different from the Mayweather-McGregor fight, in which it was a straight boxing match. Ngannou will be able to use some of his strengths as a UFC fighter. Now, Tyson said he's ready for that fight, but other than that, he's in retirement. He's done what he's needed to do. But as I mentioned before, if that Anthony Joshua fight does get scheduled, if I'm Tyson Fury, I'm taking that matchup. Not only do I want to make the hella cash that he's going to make off that bout, but I want to prove that I'm the best by fighting the best. And Anthony Joshua is one of the top-ranked heavyweights in boxing right now. I mean, let's be real. The heavyweight division has been a division that's dwindling. So, you know, when you do get a chance to get those big money fights, it's kind of hard to turn that down. So we'll keep our eyes on that to see the development of where this goes, to see if somebody can unify the heavyweight titles. And you know, we're going to always talk about it here first on Wild's 2 Cents. And that's my show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. You know, as you know, this is something that I love to do. Again, I'm in the room. I got a show this weekend. But I still wanted to make sure I came to you guys with the hottest product, with the hottest sports conversation in the nation. You know where you can catch your boy. You can catch me on YouTube, catch me on Spotify, catch me on iTunes, also catch me on the Rewind Sports 60 Roku channel, also available to download on Android or Apple, the Rewind Sports 60 app. And also you can catch me on the morning shows Monday through Friday from 9 to 11, ASAP in the morning on the ASAP Sports Network. Make sure you check them out. They have a bunch of great shows on the ASAP Network, and we are trying to get it in. This has been your boy that's hot, the boy Rob Scott, telling you guys to do what I always tell you to do. Make sure you set an achievable goal. Make sure you map out a plan to reach that goal. And once you have that plan mapped out, go out and execute, baby. Got nothing but love for you guys, man. Hope you guys have a great night. Hope you guys continue to be great. And you already know the slogan, baby. We gone!
There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us, but we have to look past the illusions, look past the delusions of grandeur, and look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we gone.